somebody posted a picture photo of this Russell Means and trying to say something really great about him, and people were saying, "Yeah, there needs to be more teachers like that." And I'm like, "This guy's a racist." Yeah, and a lot of I think a lot of people that are not too educated, they just it's how people just want to see the good, and they refuse to even consider the not good part. And I mean, imagine this, okay? Let's take a look at Adolf Hitler. Everybody knows who that is. Yeah. Now, in a certain light, Adolf Hitler did some things in Germany that, in one perspective, it was building the economy back up. Because before that, Germany was suffering economically and in other areas too. And he helped the people become proud to be German. Now, what if we just focus on that and forget everything else he did? And you can say, yeah, he was a great man. Yeah? Is that right to forget the other part of what he did? Answer me that. If we look at just one perspective and say, yeah, he really, he got the country to feel proud of themselves again. He got the German self-esteem back up again. He had these wonderful parades in the big cities where the soldiers would all come out and in military parade, and so the people saw that and they would say, wow, we really have a magnificent army. That really made the people feel good. So why can't we say Adolf Hitler was a great man? We can't, because of what he did in World War II. That's the reason why we cannot. See, you have to look at the whole picture when you're looking at somebody. You can't just look at, just certain parts, because let me tell you, if you just look at certain parts of a picture, that's what you're going to do in your own life. Yeah, you're in other words, you're going to be hiding from your problems. You're going to be running and hiding from those things that make you feel not happy. Yeah? And that's pushing you into an emotional denial, which means you're not going to see the fullness of reality in anything. And if you find somebody you like, maybe you're falling in love with that person, and then you see this person treat others really mean, but he treats you really good. So you say to yourself, well, maybe they did something to him. That's why they treat him like that. So you find excuses. You find, ways to rationalize. You find ways to rationalize red flags that should be telling you this is not a good guy. But yet, because he treats you good, you say he's a good guy. You're not being honest with yourself when you think like that. Yeah? You're absolutely not being honest with yourself, which means you're not being honest with anybody. That means you're not seeing the full picture And when you do see something that you don't like, you either try to rationalize it away by saying, well, my boyfriend or my girlfriend, treats those other people really mean. They must have did something to him or her. See, you always find excuses because you don't want this image of your partner being a bad person. And the reality is, they probably are bad people. And they're just treating you good now because they're imprisoning you. And once they have you, then you're going to start to see them treat you mean next, because he's going to go after a new partner and try to keep you on the side. See what I mean? That's unhealthy. So when you look at something, you have to look at the total picture. You don't say, is this good or bad? No, you say, is this healthy or not? And the reality is, Russell Means said a lot of things, and to some people it was nice, but to other people it was not. Like, this is one I'm always going to focus on. There's one thing that he said that to me says it all concerning the kind of man that he is, or that he was. He's a dead man now, yeah? But I was talking this way when he was still alive. This guy does not want to talk to you unless you're really, really famous. Yeah? If you try to approach this guy in private and say, hey, how you doing? He's going to look away. If you extend your hand to shake his hand, like if you're coming down a hallway. Now, I did this, okay? I did this. This is an absolute, honest-to-God, true story. In Eagle Butte, South Dakota, in the year 2001, my daughter was graduating from Cheyenne Eagle Butte High School, senior, yeah? And he was there because I think he has, there were twins in this, that were in the same class as Amanda, that were graduating, and I think they were his granddaughters, if I remember correctly. They're either his granddaughters or uncles. Nieces. I couldn't remember how they were, but he never went into the auditorium. He was always standing in the hallway. He had makeup on, and this guy is like in his 70s, and his hair is dyed pitch black, and he really has wrinkled skin, but he has a lot of makeup on, and dressed like a movie star, and he really wants to be the center of attention. Yeah. So when I went into the hallway I went to go use the bathroom, and I saw him standing out there. So I went out there and I said, "How?" And I, nodded my head up and down like Lakota guys do. And I went up to him, I extended my hand to shake his hand. He looked away. He didn't even say how back. He just looked away. It's like, get out of my space, peasant. He has that kind of, he's not a friendly man. Yeah, this is the honest to goodness truth, and I wasn't the only one who witnessed this. There were several people standing there, and they all saw what happened. I'm not making this up. Yeah, and after that, I was like, geez, this is one arrogant son of a bitch. Yeah, he's only friendly to you if you are really, really well known, if you're famous, because if he can get something from you, he'll be friendly and stuff. But when it's normal people, he's not going to give you the time of day. Now, I heard this before from other people that this is how he is, or he was. Yeah, but you see his videos on YouTube, he tries to sound really, what do you call it? Like he's speaking, that Indians are right and white people are wrong. That is racism. Yeah, that is racism. But the one thing that he said that I always will remember is this statement from his book where he says, golden eagles don't mate with bald eagles. Deer don't mate with antelope. Gray wolves don't mate with red wolves. Just look at domesticated animals, at mongrel dogs and mixed breed horses, and you'll know the great mystery didn't intend them to be that way. We weakened the species and introduced disease by mixing what should be kept separate. Among humans, intermarriage weakens the respect people have for themselves and for their traditions. It undermines clarity of spirit and mind. This is what he said. Now, if you don't understand this completely, what he's basically saying is if you are one skin color, whatever skin color you are, you shouldn't be marrying somebody from a different culture. So, in other words, if your mother is German, then she should not be marrying a man from Algeria, because any children coming from that marriage are weakening the species. Those children from these interracial marriages are bringing disrespect to the people. They're ruining reality. They're making the mind and the spirit weak. This is what he's saying. This is what Adolf Hitler would say. Like I said, when I first read this, I couldn't believe what I was reading. I know Indians can be racist. I know that. I didn't think we could be this bad though. But how silly of me. That would be racist too. If I could say, I didn't think Indians could be this bad of racist. For me to say that is also a racist statement, so I take it back. I apologize for saying that. Now I know, 100%, we can be just as racist as anybody else in this world. And this statement proves it. Yeah, this statement by Russell Means. This is not a great man. This is a racist. Anybody who says, if you're black and your partner is white, and you guys get together and you have children, and then to say that those children are less than human, that they are subhuman, any man who says that is a goddamn fucking racist. Yeah? This man is a racist. Therefore, he's an asshole. Yeah, and I stand by what I say. You know what, people? You know what? If my father said this, I would disown him. If my son said this, I would disown him. I would say, you better take that back, because if that's the way you're going to stand, I can't be your father. I can't be your son. I can't be your grandson. I cannot be your grandfather. If any one of my relatives said something like this, I would disown them, because this is bringing dishonor to the family. It's bringing dishonor to all humans. It's bringing dishonor to all people who are born from parents that come from different cultures. And I cannot be a party to that. Yet his children back him up, which goes to show you they're racist too. Yeah, so I'll stand here and I'll take every one of them on. Yeah, this is because I am not going to bow down to stupidity or racism. This is not a great man. This is a fool. And anybody who knows him personally knows that I'm speaking the truth. He only does things to make himself look good. This guy is a narcissist. He's not a warrior. People have put in, you've heard, a lot of times, people will say, yeah, there hasn't been a great Lakota man since Sitting Bull. And I'm saying, and then they'll say, since Russell means there hasn't been a Russell means um, is the greatest Lakota who ever lived since Sitting Bull, and I say bullshit. I say total bullshit. There's a lot of great Lakota men that are here. Yeah, there's a lot of them, and we're not racists. Yeah, we believe that the word mitakwe oyasing is for everybody. Mitakwe oyasing, that means all my relations, but what it's talking about, you look at that from the Lakota Star Knowledge perspective, what that's saying is, okay, since reality begins within, everything inside of you is relatives. That's all connected to each other, just like you're connected to everything around you. Yeah, everything is connected within you, and you're connected to everything around you. That includes all people, all skin colors, all races, all languages. And when it says golden eagles don't mate with bald eagles, they're different species. Since when are white people and Indian people different species? Yeah? What this guy said shows you that he doesn't know Lakota tradition. He does not understand what the words mitakwe oyasi means. All you gotta do is look at the Lakota Star Knowledge stories, and you see that in the beginning, when people are coming on the earth, they call themselves Ikje Oyate. Ikje Wichasha, it's a human man. Ikje Wia, it's the human woman. And that they come in 5 different groups, different parts of there was only one continent in those days. What today is north and south, back then used to be east and west. That's what the stories say. So, when the people start intermingling with each other, they realize that there are lots of similarities. And there's one thing that really puts things into perspective. And it's the babies. That no matter what language a people speaks, whether the language is a bunch of clicks and like that, because there's African languages that have a lot of that, huh? Or a lot of sounds like Lakota and German. Or if the language sounds like it's like that, like some Asian languages. There's one thing that's the same about the babies from all of these people, from all of these languages. The babies all speak the same. Yeah? They do not see skin color. They are pure. This is the way we begin. That means we all begin from the same area. That means we're the same. It's our culture that separates us from one another. And when we focus on the culture, we take away the focus from our sacred center. Then we become dualistic. We start thinking we're better than others. We start thinking we're smarter than others. That anybody else who's not like us is an enemy and must be destroyed. And you hear these people talking, the white man did this, the white man did that. That's all racist. That's all racism. Because even in America, there's real good white people. I know a lot of real good white people in America. And I know a lot of shitty Indians in America too. Good and bad does not belong to skin color. Huh? I've been to Switzerland many times in the mountains. I've visited with old people who live in the mountains, and they are really in touch with nature. They can look at the clouds and tell you what the weather's going to be like in the next several days. Their forecasts are better than what the meteorologists say. They believe the plants have souls in addition to animals. They talk with the plants. They talk with the animals. How many Indians do you see doing that today? Not many. White people are not the same. And Indians are not the same either. We're all different. Some of us are really good. Some of us are really smart. And some of us are like Russell Means, really dumb and really racist. So not all Indians are good. A lot of people who fantasize about Indians, they think all Indians are good. So they go on Facebook and they go visit all these native Facebook groups and friend every Indian-looking person they can see. And they think all Indians are good. Anything that has the word Indian in it, they add that to their like list. It might even say American Indians against white people. I don't care. It says Indian in there, so they add it to their list even though they're a white person. Do you see what I mean? They don't take the time to check things out, which means they did not take the time to check themselves out, which means they do not know themselves, which means they're dualistic. So like attracts like. Yeah? Dualism attracts dualism. So a lot of people talk shit like this, and they'll say, like, yeah, I hate the white man for what he did, but yet they're married to one. How come? How come they say they hate the white man, but they married a white woman, and then had a kid with that white woman? And then according to Russell Means, that kid is subhuman. Why did they have a kid then, if this is the way that group of people thinks? This American Indian movement. Yeah? If they think that white people are bad, then why do they marry white women and then have children with them? And when they believe that children from mixed interracial marriages are subhuman, then why do they have them? Why are they, if they think that children from interracial marriages are subhuman and create a problem for the human race, bringing diseases, then why do they create them? Answer me that. You means people. What kind of logic is that? If your father or your grandfather is saying that children who come from interracial marriages are subhuman, why are people who follow him, why are they creating them? There used to be a guy from Australia who was AIM everything. Added me to his Facebook list and so forth, and I seen pictures. I checked his profile out, and he has pictures of Russell Means all over his house. The way Christians have pictures of Jesus Christ all over their house. Yeah, and I'm saying to myself, Russell Means said that children from interracial marriages are subhuman. This guy has a French last name. This guy from Australia. Yeah, he has a French last name, which means he's coming from an interracial marriage. And then to top that off, he's married to an Australian white woman. And if they have children, those children are going to also be interracial. Then how can you follow a leader who tells you your children and maybe even you yourself are subhuman because you all come from interracial marriages? How in the hell does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? That's stupidity. It's racist and it's stupid. That's not a great man who talks shit like that. That's a stupid man. And some people say, he's dead. Hitler's dead. People call him stupid. They're coming from the same frequency. What Russell Means said is the same thing Adolf Hitler said. So what makes Russell Means better than Hitler? They said the same thing. What makes Russell Means better than Adolf Hitler? Not a goddamn thing, because they said the same thing, and that people from different races should not be mixing. That is racist. And there is film footage on YouTube. You can find it. It's public. Where he himself says he's not a full-blood Lakota. He cannot speak Lakota. One word. When you see these YouTube videos of him making his 10-minute speeches, you can follow his eyes. He's reading something on top of the camera, and he mispronounces things. This is what gets me all the time, is that people who really are Lakota, and when they introduce themselves, they say everything incorrect. Like, for example, you hear me on the show say, "How mitakuya pilila ayokpia wochicha kapelo." Now, what these guys are going to say is they're going to say, "How mitakuyepi lila ayokpia wochicha kapelo." Or pelo, they're going to say. Even though we don't have that A sound. They say it anyway. They don't even take the time to learn how to pronounce it correct. Which is telling me that even though they're Lakota, they don't think the Lakota language is important. So how can you be a racist and say that, Lakota people are better than all other people in this universe, but then again, you don't even speak your own language. And then when you do say something memorized, you don't even take the time to say it correctly. Do you see what I mean? No matter which way you turn, you run into stupidity. This is a racist. This is a womanizing racist. And this is also a man who, when he was younger, he beat up an old man and got sent to jail for it. He used to be married to a Navajo lady. They lived in Chinle, Arizona, the Navajo Nation. He got into a disagreement with his father-in-law. So he hit his father-in-law and knocked him out. The Navajo police came and they arrested him, and then he said, "You can't hold me, I'm not a Navajo," he said. So then he proceeded to start a court case to take the Navajo Nation to court, saying that they cannot arrest him because he's not a Navajo. Okay, here we go, Indian against Indian. How about that? Is that stupid or what? Here's the guy that's saying Indians are all, that Indians are the best people in the world and everybody else is not. But when it comes to him being arrested from another Indian tribe, he takes those other Indians to court. And thank God, if there is a God, thank that God, he lost that court case. Because if he had won, that would have taken away sovereignty from all tribes in America. All tribes would have lost sovereignty because of this court case. That is stupidity beyond stupidity. And he beat up an elder. An Indian man beat up an Indian elder, sending him to the hospital. This is not a warrior. This is a coward. So no, he's not a great man. Yeah, he's not a great man. This is a guy who Sitting Bull would have wiped out immediately, because this is a man who divides the people against each other. I almost think Russell Means was working for the FBI, really. And I bet you anything I'm right. He accused everybody else of working for the FBI, but I bet you anything it was him. Because if there's one thing that Russell Means did, is he got the Lakota people to divide against each other. He didn't unite us at all. He put us at odds with each other. And he made sure of that we would not unite. Which means he doesn't really have the Lakota people's best interest in mind. He just wanted to stay out of jail. He beat up an old man. Get that through your heads, everybody who follows him. He beat up an old man when he was in his, 40s. He beat up an old man. Let me say that one more time. He beat up his father-in-law. How can you tell me that's a warrior? Just about every American Indian tradition, you show respect to your elders. Even if you disagree with them, you shut the fuck up. And you sit there and you take in whatever they say, even if they're telling you off. And even if you know 100% that they're wrong, you still sit there and you just let them say whatever it is they have to say. That's called respect. Respect does not mean agree. Then you let them get done, and after they go, then you can go and do whatever it is you want to do. But he didn't do that. He went and beat the elder up, sent him to the hospital. And when I heard that, and it was on the newspapers, and I just couldn't believe. I was like, this is not a man. This is not a warrior. This is a coward. This is a very selfish, narcissistic man who represents only himself. And I would be ashamed to have a father like that. I would change my last name if I had a father like that. This is not a great man. Yeah, this is absolutely not a great man. So anyway, let me get off my commodity juice box here and get back with let's change the tone here, and let's turn this show into a nice one. But I have to say my say here, and because I have to tell you the truth. This is the truth. This is not a lie. You can research this. Just Google Russell Means, Navajo elder, and jail, and see what you come up with. You're going to find it. Yeah. What I find really interesting is that he used his mouth to spread a lot of poison in the air. And how do you think he died? That would lead one to believe that what goes around comes around. But in the Lakota tradition, it comes around 4 times as strong. So when we have the gift to communicate, we should use it in a healthy way. Because if we use it in an unhealthy way, like Russell Means did, it's going to come back around to us 4 times as strong. So you have to be ready for that. You put it out, and it's going to come back. What I told you is all true. I'm not making anything up. This is not rhetoric. All you have to do is get on the Google and look for these things yourself. Don't believe everything that people say. You got to do the research yourself. You have to take the time to check things out. Yeah, just and if you do that to yourself, this is a natural thing. Yeah, this is a natural thing that you do to everything. People focus too much on their skin color or their ideology or religion, and they don't focus any attention on the most important thing, which is where reality begins, which is within you. Yeah, where your sacred center is, where your physical body, your mind, and your emotions and your soul connect to each other. There's no language there. There's no skin color. There's no culture. This is what we all have. This is, when we live in that way that I explained at the beginning of the show, so that we communicate from there. We're also tying into the earth, where that's what she has. That's where she's placed a piece of herself as well. So being an Indian doesn't mean you're good. Being a white person doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the skin color. It has everything to do with what kind of person you are. How do you live your life? And so as long as we're going to be, saying this is the Indian way, this is the Christian way, this is, as long as we start talking like that, the stupidity increases among the earth, yeah, among the people of the earth. So it is unfortunate, but that's what duality does. It makes us stupid because we don't see the fullness of reality. We're not, seeing the full view. Even when something nice happens, we're not really seeing the full beauty of that blessing. And when we're enjoying it, when you live a dualistic life, you're not fully enjoying it. You could be feeling even more of that joy if you were not thinking in terms of good or bad, or right or wrong, or Indian against white. Do you see what I mean? As long as you see things dualistically, where you place yourself above others, or you say, well, Indians are better than other races. As long as you think like that, you're not truly experiencing the fullness of life. You're denying most of it. Because Lakota Star Knowledge says there's at least 3 perspectives to reality. If you are saying, well, this is the Indian way and stuff like that, as long as you communicate like that, you're missing most of reality. Because dualistic people only accept one perspective. Lakota Star Knowledge says there's at least 3. So that means they're rejecting 2. Yeah? 2/3 they're rejecting. That is 67%. That's a lot of reality to reject. That's why dualistic people become stupid, and they end up saying things like children from interracial marriages are subhuman. You see what I mean? That's what duality leads to, and that is illness, that is disease. So that's also the reason why I'm not into becoming the most popular show on the internet. I don't care if I'm not the most popular Indian show on the internet. That doesn't matter to me. There's another Indian show out there that's saying, yeah, we have 50,000 hits and wow, it just gets better, And I was like, this sounds like a car salesman, yeah? I don't talk like that. I know how many people are listening to this show. And it is a very good sized number, but I'm not into that. Yeah, I'm not into that. I'm not into how many people are listening. That's not my goal. I'm not trying to build the biggest show. I'm not trying to be the most popular. I'm not trying to become well known. No, the intention of this show is to show you about reality, and that in our modern dualistic world, we are really only comprehending at least, or I should say at the most, one third of it. There's so many beautiful things that we're missing. They're right in front of us. But as long as we say things like Indian people are better than white people, as long as we think like that, we're not going to see the fullness. We're not going to experience the full joy of reality. As long as we think like that. That's why I'm not interested, in having the most listeners or something. Numbers don't mean anything to me. What I'm mostly concerned about is that people take the time, to think about what I say. Nothing more. I'm not asking for anybody to agree with me. I'm not asking for anybody to, join my gang so we can be the best gang. See, that would be dualistic to think like that. If I were concerned about numbers, then I'm a linear thinker. And Lakota Star knowledge is non-linear. In fact, it's circular. Linear is when you only go in one direction from point A to Z. And that's it. And Lakota spirituality, philosophy, star knowledge, even in the language, there is no one direction. There's many directions. And sometimes it appears like we're going backwards. And that's okay. Sometimes it appears we're going sideways. And that's okay too. What's most important is that we learn. See, in our way, maybe we start at point A. Okay, maybe we get, go to B, C, D, E, F, then we're at G, point G. Maybe by that time, 5 years has gone by. If you're living healthy, you have progressed. So, when this happens, we go back to point A again, or maybe point B, to something we've already been to, something we've already learned. And now we're going to see it through different eyes because we've changed. And we will see something new. It was always there. But we weren't as developed back then, so we didn't see the whole thing. But now we know a little bit more. So we can come back to where we've already been and look at it again and see something new. And we continue again. Yeah? That's non-linear. That's circular. It's spherical. Because it can go sideways too. And that's a really interesting topic. Yeah. So that's why I'm not concerned about being the most popular or having the most listeners. I'm not concerned about that at all. I am very thankful for those who do take the time to listen to this show. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm that brings me great joy. Even if you disagree with me, that still brings me great joy, because you heard something. Even if you disagree with it, it may cause you to think about it later on in your life, and that's cool. And if it doesn't, that's still okay too. Yeah, like I said, I'm not out to become the popular kid. Yeah. I'm just trying to represent the ancestors as best as I can. And the ancestors, they're called Ikje Oyate. They're not called Lakota. They're called Ikje Oyate, the human nation. Sometimes we have to get serious and we have to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute. Look, that this is a serious thing, and I gotta say something about this. And I have to present this information. And it might piss off some people, but the intention is not to piss off people. The intention is to tell the truth, and that was the truth. That is the truth. What I said, and sometimes it is a little bit rough. Sometimes it's hard, but that life is that way. When we're confronted with situations where we may have to say, okay, It's, that's what you think, but I don't see it that way. And we say our say. And the point is not to um, win people over or anything. What I said, my intention was not to prove anybody anything. I don't have to. The evidence speaks for itself. Yeah, I don't have to prove, uh, that this guy I was talking about is not a good guy. I don't have to prove that. The evidence all supports it. So that's not what I was doing, and I'm not bad mouthing. How can I be bad mouthing when I'm telling the truth? Yeah. Um, and like I said, when this guy was alive, I tried to get his audience. I tried to talk with him. He doesn't want to. If you don't have any money, if you don't have if you're not famous, then you're worthless to him. Is basically how that goes. He didn't have an ear for everybody. That's his family will talk like that, but that's not true. That is absolutely not true. Yeah, because and I know several people, even back in the 1970s when this guy was going to Indian schools, doing his brainwashing there. There were young Indians that were trying to talk to him privately. He had his bodyguards, and they all pushed him away, and so you could tell he wasn't about the people. Yeah, he's just about himself. He's a very selfish man. And the comparisons that I made are correct. They are entirely correct. And so, like I said, you can Google all this information and you can find it for yourself. So I'm not backstabbing. I'm not spreading lies. I'm telling the truth. And the truth shall make you free. or set you free, I guess that's how it goes. So, anywho, that's my story and I'm sticking to it.